The Abbotsford Canucks are off to the American Hockey League's Final Four after a 5-0 shutout win in a do-or-die game in Colorado. We got lots to talk about. This is Rink Wide. And we welcome you inside the Rink Wide Studios on a Monday afternoon. And what a day it's been for the Abbotsford Canucks as they advance to the Western Conference Final in the American Hockey League. And boy, they did it in style with a 5-0 shutout victory over the Colorado Eagles. I'm Jeff Patterson here in downtown Vancouver. Dave Hall from Canucks Army is going to join me as he has throughout this American Hockey League playoff run that will continue and fairly quick turnaround. In fact, as we now know that the Western Conference Final, Abbotsford's going to have home ice advantage against the Texas Stars, and it will start Thursday out in the Fraser Valley. But we're here to document and detail how they advanced, and as I said, they did it upright as they punched this Colorado team right in the nose, showing great resilience yet again. Abbotsford hasn't lost back-to-back games in the postseason, and really when you think of the stretch run and that 13-game win streak, the streak came to an end with consecutive losses. That's the only time Abbotsford has lost back-to-back games in its last 30 outings, regular season and playoff combined. So this team has found a way, continually digging down. It wasn't the greatest of starts, and that's been sort of a common theme throughout these playoffs, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And in the end, Abbotsford full value for the 5-0 win. The second period, maybe the best Abby has looked at any point in these playoffs. And here they are now through 3 rounds and into round 4. And yes, for those of you that have been asking, finally, a best of 7. Yeah, the final 2 rounds of the Calder Cup playoffs are the traditional best of 7, 4 wins to advance. So there are 8 wins in and 8 wins still to go, but there are only 4 teams still around. We'll check the out-of-town scoreboard and the playoff brackets a little bit later on here. But just a couple of thoughts before we get to Dave Hall. First things first, Rink Wide is always a presentation of Bet365, and Bet365 has been with us through the Canucks regular season, here in the playoffs as well. If you want to get in on the action for the Stanley Cup playoffs at Bet365, hey, they've got you from game props to player props, totals, the money line. You can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champs, the Stanley Cup champions, and much, much more. Whatever you bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs, must be 19 or older. Our YouTube live chat is hopping, and we appreciate all the support there. Certainly we'll incorporate some of your thoughts, those of you that watch this game, listen to it, or maybe just rely on socials to follow along, and then you join us here on Rink Wide. Whatever the case, we're happy to have you, and we're happy to keep working here in these American Hockey League playoffs. We always tell you about Super Chat's a great way to contribute, to have your thoughts and voice heard here on the Postgame live stream. And our Super Chat charity partner all season long, the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. And no surprise, we're starting this episode like we have so many others. Hugo Mugo coming through with another Super Chat, says, let's go. Another arty party, had to start the game on the radio, but got home in time to watch the finish. Great game. Thanks for the show, and thanks for the contribution to the BC Mental Health foundation. I mentioned the fact at the start, again, Abbotsford seems to dip its toe into these games, looked a little nervous, gave a couple of grade A opportunities in the first minute of play, but Artur Silovs serving notice early that he was in and ready to go, and eventually the team found its skating legs, killed off a penalty. That's been a common theme throughout the playoffs, just the one power play goal against through 3 rounds. Incredible stuff. We'll have a stat that stands out. It's not that one, but that one certainly does. And then Abby got a chance to go to work on the power play. And yeah, guess who? Linus Karlsson with a wrist shot off the rush, his 6th of the postseason. That leads the team. He wasn't done yet. But maybe the turning point comes just 60 seconds later. A minute after Linus Karlsson opens the scoring, Phil DiGiuseppe gets his first point of this series. And we talked the other night about veterans, the guys that you expect, guys that have touched NHL ice, that have been through some of these battles. Those are the players that you wanted to see raise their level of play. Phil DiGiuseppe does. He has 2 goals, including an empty netter, but his first of the night or afternoon, a huge goal to extend the lead. There was no sitting back from this Abbotsford team. Got it to 2-0, and man, did I like the way they attacked in the second period. And when I said this is maybe their best performance, that second period was maybe their best 20 minutes of hockey that they have played. And there have been some nice chunks here in the postseason. And midway through the second period, Cole McWard jumps up into some free ice, takes the puck. A bit of a weak one by Trent Miner, who had been terrific in the series. But hey, Canucks will take the break, and Cole McWard will take the goal, continuing to spread the scoring around. Defenseman getting in on the act as well. And Cole McWard made it 3-0. And at that point, you just felt, and I know we've seen comebacks at all levels of hockey, but boy, at 3-0, things were going Abby's way, and they didn't let up in the third period. Karlsson gets his 2nd of the game, 7th now. That's tied for the American Hockey League lead in the playoffs in goals, and then Phil DiGiuseppe with his 2nd into the empty net as Colorado pulled its goaltender. Desperation time, nothing to lose at that point. 6 minutes remaining in the hockey game, and Colorado got the goaltender out. PDG comes through with his 2nd. He's up to 5 now in the postseason. He's sort of been an empty net merchant, but hey, Abbotsford in positions to seal games into the empty net, and you get a reliable veteran like Phil DiGiuseppe, and he comes through yet again. So good on Abbotsford, just a thoroughly professional performance top to bottom. The stars were good. The goaltending was terrific. They win the special teams battle. They didn't sit back. There was so much to like. And maybe most of all, the fact that they advance and they're still playing hockey here deep into the spring. Just 4 teams remaining in the hunt for the Calder Cup, and the Abbotsford Canucks are one of them. We'll get to Dave Hall of Canucks Army here in a moment. He's a presentation of the Pacific Toyota dealers who want to tell you about the BZ4X 100% electric. It's backed by the peace of mind of knowing that it's a Toyota, and that spark of joy you get when you pass a gas station knowing that you don't have to stop. There's the added perk of being able to access HOV lanes when driving an EV, even when you're alone in the vehicle, all sorts of cargo space, and it can handle any terrain. It can take you from the city to the slopes or wherever your life takes you. When you choose the BZ4X, you can get a $5,000 incentive. And right now, you can finance a 2025 BZ4X LE all-wheel drive from 0.99% APR for 36 months. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. My understanding is that Abbotsford will overnight down in Loveland, Colorado, fly home tomorrow, and then, as we said, fairly quick turnaround. They got to be ready to go on Thursday because they're still playing hockey, Dave Hall. We wondered about this, and I asked you the other night, give me a couple names. Who needs to rise to the occasion? No surprise that Linus Karlsson came through, but I thought it was so good to see Arshdeep Bains with a couple of primary assists. We've been wondering, we've been waiting, and not to single any one guy out particularly, because this was the definition of a team performance, top to bottom. Chips were down, and Abby came through. What did you make of the effort you saw from the Abbotsford Canucks?
Yeah, that's just it. You know, like in games like that, especially, you need your big guys, as you mentioned, guys that have touched NHL ice, you know, that have played in high leverage situations like this. You know, they needed them to step up, and most of them did. Like Arshdeep Bains, it was great that pass to Linus Karlsson, and credit to Karlsson as well, fending off 2 defenders there to get that shot off. And same with his second goal, fends off the defender to get his rebounds. So, you know, just a great effort. I don't want to call it a whole effort, as, you know, the first 15 minutes of the game was a little touch and go. Artie Silovs definitely kept him in there for that one and made some incredible saves. But once they scored that first goal, it was all Abbotsford. And as you mentioned, it wasn't just the goals, it was the shot, it was the saves, it was the penalty kill, it was the power play, the shot blocks in that second period. The amount of shot blocks, obviously they don't count that kind of stuff in the AHL, but it was significant, and that was just a clinical effort, professional win once they got that first goal.
Yeah, it's just so much to like. And as I boil it down, I just keep coming back to that second period.
Yeah.
You can understand in high leverage situations, you get a 2-0 lead. It's easy to defend, or at least go into that defensive mindset. And yet we see all the time the worst lead in hockey, the 2-goal lead. I just love the way they pushed. I thought the way they came out to start the second period, where, yeah, they were a little tentative to start the hockey game, but to start the second period, stacking heavy shifts, the forecheck, they were aggressive, turning pucks over, creating scoring chances. They had other opportunities to extend the lead. Took till the midway mark before Cole McWard was able to sneak one through on Trent Miner. But boy, there was just so much to like in the way that they attacked. And so credit to Manny Malhotra and his staff. They didn't strap on the blades for this one, but they set up the game plan. They're pushing the buttons, and it's a team effort. So coaches as well. I liked so much about that second period.
That could have been their best period of the entire postseason from start to finish. They came out flying. I made a joke that they must have been playing in a New York minute in the dressing room there, because that 1 minute in the first period really changed the game there. But I just like I said, whether it was the goals, but like for me, the big thing was their performance on the defensive end. They broke up so many different plays. They blocked so many shots, and obviously RD Silovs came up with a lot of big saves too. But I really thought defensively they really held up, especially when they were up 3-0. They could have easily let in a few goals there, but yeah, just from start to finish, whether it's the forecheck or not, that was just a clinical effort, really.
Dave, one of the storylines coming in here was that the Colorado Eagles were the best home ice team in the American Hockey League all season. That was going to be one of the challenges for the Abbotsford Canucks. They knew at the outset they didn't have home ice. They had to get at least one. Yeah. And when Colorado came to the Fraser Valley and got the split, all of a sudden, it ratchets up that, hey, Abby's got to, math tells you, they've got to win 2. For them to go in and win 2 of 3 in the building that was tougher than any other for visitors to play in, like absolute feather in the cap, maybe an eagle feather in the cap of the Abbotsford Canucks.
Absolutely, and to think, the number of veterans that Colorado has on their team versus Abbotsford. Abbotsford's a pretty young team. The Canucks rather. They focus a lot on development in that organization. Whereas with Colorado Eagles, it's not so much development. It's more so win, right? And so the fact that they can come in and, like you said, against not only the best team, but one of the best teams in the road, if not the best. So overall, it was like, and not only that, the crowd was there in all 3 games. The crowd showed up, a matinee game on Memorial Day. The crowd was in it. And, that's why in the third period, that was such a big goal on the 4-4 goal from Linus Karlsson. Credit to the fans. They came out, they were cheering like crazy. Like you could barely see the ice because all the fans were standing rather, and, taking up a lot of the viewing for us watching on the screen. But Karlsson came in and silenced them right away. So yeah, credit to them. That's a huge, the fact that they can go in and get 2 out of 3 is fantastic. And, we can't say it enough, since January, this team has just been resilient, and, this week just proves it all.
Well, yeah, we wondered, and anytime it's a one-game winner-take-all, like, it can go either way, obviously, but for Abbotsford to step up after the weekend they had to sort of stew on a Game 4 loss, where, look, Colorado was the better team, and they were separated by 2 points in the regular season. Like, it was an even battle. We've touched on that every episode we've done, and so to see it decided with a 5-0, a convincing one-sided, that's sort of the big surprise in all of this, and, I don't know if I've got the time to do this, but I hope somebody does. Like, at any organized level of hockey, to have your goaltender pitch a shutout in 3 consecutive advancement games, like stuff that just doesn't happen. But they blanked Tucson to move on to against Coachella Valley, shutout Coachella Valley to earn the right to play Colorado, and here another shutout. So Artur Silovs with 4 shutouts in the playoffs, and 3 of them have come in games where Abbotsford advances. And he had to be good early on, because we said 20 seconds in, Ty Felleber, who is one of the most dangerous Colorado Eagle players, like a golden opportunity, and Artie dialed in early and often, and then 15 shots in the third. I mean, you knew that there was going to be a push from Colorado, but as you said, that 4-0 goal, because I do want to get to the events of the end of the second period and Sammy Blais and his series. But the way it worked with Blais getting a major penalty at the end of the second, but there was also a Colorado penalty, and so it was 4-on-4 before the power play. Originally, I thought, was Colorado going to start with a 3-minute power play? And, if they score a couple of goals, they get right back into this hockey game. But as it turned out, that was a massive moment in this game to 4-on-4, Linus Karlsson. And as you talked about, like, his stick-to-itiveness, if that's a word, defenseman actually makes a pretty good play to stand him up, but the puck is loose, but he just fights off the check and gets a second crack at it and scores. And then, it's a 4-0 game, 34 seconds in, and instead of Colorado wrestling the momentum back, we're looking at it on the live stream here, now at 4-0, it almost felt like a laughing matter and just a matter of running out the clock. So that was massive, but, I mean, we got to spend a second here. So many positives. I don't want to bring the level down too much, but we've talked about Sammy Blais and his discipline in a 3-0 game where everything was going the Canucks' way. Like, just no reason in the world to take the penalty he did at the buzzer in the second period and put his team in what could have been, a difficult situation. Dave, he had 57 minutes in penalties over the final 4 games of this series. We talked about him playing with an edge, but my goodness, like, I don't know what Manny Malhotra will say to him. If anything, they won the series, they advance, it's a new opportunity. But the further they go in these playoffs, the more he can't do this kind of stuff. There was just no business for Sammy Blais doing what he did there at the end of the second period.
Well, and that's the thing, like, all undisciplined too. All those 50-plus minutes are just, dare I say, stupid plays, right? Like at that point, that's a huge penalty. I don't want to say they're lucky that the team took a penalty, but they're lucky that they only had to kill off 3 minutes, because, I mean, even that's 3 minutes where the Colorado Eagles could score as many goals as they want. And so, that puts your team in a really tough spot after all that momentum. Like, after, as we just talked about, probably their best, from start to finish period of the entire postseason, to end it like that on just a complete non-play from a defenseman that basically just shoots the puck away at the final seconds. It's just so undisciplined. And, I agree. I don't really know what you do. What do you say? Do you, now it's a new series. Do you sit Sammy Blais to start game 1 to kind of send a message? Probably not. He is your technically your best forward in the postseason. But, at some point, something's got to give. It was just a complete shift from, the first 2 series to this one.
Yeah, and look, regular viewers or listeners to Rink Wide, we've both had his back. I mean, I'm on the record as saying I think there's another NHL act left in his career.
Me too.
But when you get down to, there were 5 teams left in the playoffs before Colorado was eliminated, like, people are watching, not just, and when I say another act in the NHL, I'm not talking necessarily with the Canucks, but other organizations would be keeping an eye. Like, I'm not sure that Sammy Blais helping his cause. Yeah, you want to be physical, but within the play and not putting your team at a disadvantage. And his offense has gone missing. He hasn't scored since the opening round. So hopefully he can rein it back in here because he can be a difference maker. We've seen that in these playoffs. But, he's got to kind of get a reset there and a little bit of regaining his focus. Hopefully that can happen as they move forward here.
And it's crazy to think, like, he's been in a Stanley Cup final, he's played these high leverage NHL games. He understands, he knows what the stakes are, and yet, he goes and makes 3 incredibly ridiculous plays in the series, and all 3 of them could have cost his team the game. Luckily tonight or this afternoon rather, it was a different story, but that could have easily just been a complete momentum killer in the third there. So
if you're the Texas Stars, you've been watching and you've been scouting, of course you're going to want to push his buttons and see if you can get him off his game that way and take more of these penalties. So he's definitely going to be somebody that we'll be watching here as the Canucks advance. All right, so we know they're into the Final Four. This is already uncharted territory. They had never been to the third round, let alone 4. Now we get best of 7, so longer series. The schedule is out now. It'll start Thursday and Saturday in Abbotsford. Interesting to note, if it goes the distance, Games 6 and 7 will be played back-to-back at the Abbotsford Center. So Abby has home ice advantage, but it is the 2-3-2 format. which is understandable with travel costs at this level. So there you go. On the live stream, you can see. But Thursday, we'll be back at it, and they'll continue to march on. 7 o'clock starts for the first 2 games out in Abbotsford on Thursday and Saturday. Let's hope that they pack the places they did for the last game at home earlier in this series. Early thoughts on the Texas Stars. Abbotsford finished 5 points in front of them. I mean, that's how they earned home ice advantage here. Cole Lind, a familiar name and face, has been one of their scoring leaders here in the early stages of this American Hockey League postseason. So Cole Lind, I know that they've got a top line that has been going lights out. They beat Milwaukee as the lower seed, so they've already pulled off an upset to get to this point. What else do you know, or what comes to mind when you think of the Texas Stars?
Yeah, well, they've got the top 3 scorers in the Calder Cup playoffs, as you mentioned, Cole Lind being one of them. He's got 11 points for 3rd place right now. And so that line is definitely going to be a scary one that they're going to have to shut down. It's kind of funny. At this point, it's uncharted territories for Abbotsford in every single way. They've never been this far. They've never played the Texas Stars. So it's one of those series where it's kind of out of, they know nothing. So it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be a couple days of some good game tape for Manny Malhotra and the crew. But yeah, at this point, there was that upper echelon of the Western Conference that all the teams finished within a couple points of each other. So once you got past, that first series, really, all the teams really, it was anyone's game. So it's going to be, like this one, it's likely going to be a close match. But at the same time, there's no record to go off of how they did against each other. So we'll have to see. And, Abbotsford's flying. So let's just hope they can fend that top line off.
And one other thing I just wanted to throw your way. We have saluted him throughout the playoffs, quietly going about his business. But we learned on the broadcast today from Brandon Astle that Guillaume Brisebois broke his nose in the series opener against Colorado. We had seen that he was playing with the full cage and wasn't sure the extent. But, again, just speaks to the character of a veteran guy who isn't in it for the fanfare, but boy, he has been good in penalty killing situations, late game, protecting leads. And I love the fact on the Cole McWard goal that it was Guillaume Brisebois that was right there. The 2 defensemen had jumped up into the I don't even want to think about what would happen if the puck had gone back the other way, but Cole McWard squeezed one through. But just kind of funny to see that it was 48 and 55 going to the attack there for the Abbotsford Canucks.
I agree, and you love to see that. A guy like Guillaume Brisebois really taking a guy like Cole McWard under his wing, and he's just one of those steady Eddies. Like both those players, to be honest, Cole McWard is basically the younger version of Guillaume Brisebois, where he's just a steady Eddie that you just kind of plug and play. Doesn't matter what the scenario is, you can put him in. But yeah, all credit to Guillaume Brisebois. He's looked one of their best defenders. Like there's just, you don't really notice him that much, and in this aspect, that's a good thing. He's just out there to play, and as the longest standing Canuck in, I believe it's the organization right now. One of the, we'll see if Brock Besser, I believe they were drafted the same draft. So yeah, gotta give it up to him. A nice veteran presence there on a team that doesn't have a lot of them. So.
Well, this one was fun. It's been a fun run. A dozen games in, and they're going to add to that with at least 4 more. And you get this late in the playoffs, you'd expect that, even though they don't know a lot about each other and haven't faced each other, I think you have to be prepared for this one to go a lengthy series, as we just saw against the Colorado Eagles. So Abby's on a roll. Hopefully people are buying in, whether it's in the Fraser Valley and Metro Vancouver, throughout the province of British Columbia. This is sort of BC's team now as they make it to the Final Four. So Rink Wide will push on. You and I will be back to do this on Thursday and then Saturday, and we'll take stock of where the series is before it shifts to the Lone Star State. But always good getting you on. We look forward to the Farmies. Dave will have his post-game recap with all the video highlights contained there. So always a great read after an Abbotsford game, even better when it's after an Abbotsford win like this one. Dave, great stuff here on Rink Wide. Great stuff at Canucks Army as well. And we'll see you back here on Thursday.
We're calling hockey in early June. Who would have thought? Hey, Jeff. Thanks
Love
for
it.
having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave Hall from Canucks Army has been a great contributor. It's been a lot of fun to do these Rink Wides with him after each and every one of the Abbotsford games here in the postseason. All right, let's get to the 3 stars, a presentation of Gretabar YVR. 3 stars in the building. Arthur Silovs pitches the shutout, his second of the series. He bookended this series with shutouts, 2-0 in the opener and 5-0 here. Artie, is the first star, Linus Karlsson, the second star, and Phil DiGiuseppe is star number 3. A little different here on Rink Wide. We're going with Linus Karlsson only because the first goal, I felt the first goal was so important coming into this game. Abbotsford was 5-0 in the playoffs when opening the scoring, but just 2-4 when giving up the first goal. And they'd given up the first goal in the first 5 minutes of the last 3 games. So they got through the opening 5 minutes. They were on their heels, but such a big goal for Linus Karlsson. And then his second one that made it 4-0. He's up to 7 now in the playoffs. So 7 goals in a dozen games. Like at this level, this guy is a lethal goal scorer. So yeah, chips are down. The Canucks needed a big performance from some of their big guns, and Linus Karlsson came through. He's the first star, not to diminish the 32-save shutout, Artur Silovs, and particularly in that first period. So yeah, it's another Artie party, nighttime, daytime. Doesn't seem to matter. Artie's been really good here in the playoffs. And we talked about it with Dave. Shout out to Arshdeep Bains. It's been a tough go for him, and hopefully this alleviates some pressure. 2 primary assists on the opening goal and also on the 3-0 goal by Cole McWard. So, yeah, Phil DiGiuseppe, honorable mention for PDG. He scored twice, one of them the empty netter late. So he could have been a star as well. But we're going with Linus Karlsson, Artur Silovs, Arshdeep Bains, clean sweep for the Abbotsford Canucks as they advance here in these American Hockey League playoffs. The 3 stars brought to you by Greta Bar YVR. And hey, we congratulate Greta on 3 great years and look forward to being part of many more. They had their birthday bash over the weekend. Greta, a great place to watch any game, but it's also a great place for team building and summer social events. If you're looking to get your group out of the office or some corporate fun, consider Greta for all the arcade games, the street food menu, the weekly drink specials as well. Greta Bar, the place to be, 50 West Cordova. Greta Bar. Let the games begin. And from the 3 stars, we roll into the stat that stands out. And yeah, I mean, look at Artur Silovs. We could go with his performance, another shutout. We talked about shutouts in all of these advancement games, but we're going to go with more of a team statistic. If you've been watching Rink Wide throughout and you've been reading in Canucks Army, like every story coming into this series was the Colorado Eagles were the highest scoring team in the American Hockey League in the regular season. These guys know how to put the puck in the net. 5 games later, Colorado scored 10 goals, and 5 of them came in the one game. Game 2 out in Abbotsford, and one of those was an empty netter. So they scored 9 goals in the series in the run of play and got an empty netter from Jason Magna early on. Like, that is tip in the cap material to the entire Abbotsford team. Yes, Artur Silovs is the last line of defense, but that speaks to guys laying out and blocking shots and special teams and you name it. Like, that's a damn impressive statistic right there, holding the highest scoring team in the American Hockey League to 10 goals in 5 games, and 3 of them were played in their own building. So, yeah, it was nice to see Abbotsford come through and score some goals of its own, but really, they were able to hold this Abbotsford or this Colorado team in check. And so that is definitely a stat that stands out. Stat that stands out here on Rink Wide is brought to you by Resurrection Spirits. And we keep telling you about Bogey Juice. Could have used a little yesterday out on the golf course on one of the days between these games. In this series, crafted with a tantalizing blend of crisp apple flavoring and kickin' ginger for that refreshing zing. Every shot of Bogey Juice, like a hole-in-one for your taste buds, sweetened to perfection with simple syrup and made even smoother with top-shelf vodka. It's the only juice that's guaranteed to make your golf buddies beam with envy despite the score it refers to. Check out bogeyjuice.com for more info and use promo code SP15 for 15% off Bogey Juice product and merch. All right, lots of you in the live chat. Lots of you want through. If you want to make sure that your comments are read, super chat. Just a thought there. Going to a great cause. But Crazy123 says, Blais in this series compared to the others is kind of bonkers. What happened? Yeah, I mean, like, I don't want to get too far into it again. We talked about it with Dave there, but he's got to focus more on playing between the whistles, play with the puck, and it's pretty clear that he can kind of lose the plot, and that can't happen moving forward here. He can't afford to take his team, out of its rhythm, have to kill penalties, penalty kill has been incredible in the playoffs, but you're also playing with fire when you put the other team on the power play and against a Texas team that has the top line in hockey right now, at least the American Hockey League. So hopefully Sammy can just step back here, take a couple days, hit the reset button. They need the good Sammy Blais, the guy that started the playoffs and came out firing and scored in the first, all three of his goals here in the playoffs have come in that opening round against Tucson. Robert says, great game, boys. Hope the big club is looking at the big efforts. Oh, I'm sure the big club is paying attention. They've got their coach now. So, they need some assistant coaches, but really between now and the draft, they just had the scouting meetings last week. I'm sure that one of the private suites out at the Abbotsford Center on the weekend will be filled with Canucks brass taking in games 1 and 2, and I am certain that they are taking notice of what's going on. I mean, some of these guys are trying to put their best foot forward. Linus Karlsson wants to play in the National Hockey League on a full-time basis. He's got the one-way contract next year. We've seen that he's not a goal scorer at the NHL level, but in a fourth-line capacity where he could chip in with a little bit of offense, yeah, maybe there's a role for him. He's doing all he can to make that happen. Now, see a few people in the chat asking about Aatu Ratu. We just don't know, but the deeper Abbotsford goes in the playoffs, the more you'd like to think that whatever it is that's keeping him out, he's going to be able to rest up and heal up, but we just don't know. We'll see if we can come up with some info. The deeper they go in the playoffs, the tighter the lips are when it comes to injury updates, but it would be nice to know if there's any indication from the organization whether Aatu Ratu can get back in this series. Is it possible that if they get to the Calder Cup final, he'd be available, or is his season done? We just don't know. So we'll continue to endeavor to try to get to the bottom of that because, look, this team is running along nicely, but absolutely they would be able to plug a player like Aatu Ratu in and hope that he could pull the rope in the right direction. Like everybody else is. It has been a full team effort. I think with the Cole McWard goal, I believe that's 16 different skaters that have scored at least once here in the playoffs for the Abbotsford Canucks. So very much the definition of teamwork, and they were the better team start to finish in this hockey game, aside from maybe the first 5 minutes or so. They have to fly home from Colorado, so tomorrow will be a travel day. But in some ways, I think it actually works in Abby's favor that, they don't have to wait a week here before they fire it up again. They've got some good feelings coming out of this one. Turn around and get right back after it on Thursday, and then try to get into that groove. And again, see what they can do about establishing home ice advantage. It felt like game 2 against Colorado was a missed opportunity. If they'd been able to get up 2-0, push Colorado up against the wall right away. But then Abbotsford was able to get out on the road, and these teams alternated wins. Abby won game 1, game 3, game 5. Colorado with wins in the even-numbered games 2 and 4. We'll see what happens. Longer series now. This is something that none of these Abbotsford guys have done in these playoffs, in Texas too. But a best of 7. Does that change the mentality? It shouldn't. Just know that if it goes the distance, that's a lot of hockey in a compressed time with some travel between the Fraser Valley and just outside of Dallas. So, you got to take that into account. But same travel schedule for both teams. Again, Abbotsford at home has been good here in these playoffs. A chance to get a leg up and, hopefully harness the energy that's out there in the Abbotsford Center when this thing gets going on Thursday. Abbotsford won the special teams battle in this one. Game 5 went 1 for 2 on the power play. Colorado 0 for 2. And again, one of the prevailing storylines for this Abbotsford team, and the reason that they're still alive in these playoffs, is the fact that through 3 rounds now, they've given up 1 power play goal in, I believe it's 33 attempts now. And they also scored a shorthanded goal earlier. So through 3 rounds of the playoffs, Abbotsford's penalty kill is a net 0. That is pretty impressive stuff. So, yeah, it's been fun. The fun continues. And as we said, I think the buy-in continues as well. And it probably grows now. Like, there were some people that maybe were, a little bit on the fence about, hey, best of 3, best of 5. Call me when, the real playoffs begin. Well, here you go. The playoffs begin on Thursday. Best of 7 against the Texas Stars. What a springtime for the Dallas Stars organization. I know that the big league team's in tough against Edmonton, but to have your NHL team and your American Hockey League affiliate both into the Final Four at their respective levels, that's pretty impressive stuff as well. The Abbotsford Canucks play on, and so do the Vancouver Canadians, who are at home again starting on Tuesday, May 27th, when they host Hillsborough. And the homestand includes a fireworks night, a We Care Wednesday, a Friday nooner, a family fun Sunday when the kids can run the bases after the ball game. And I saw on social South Asian Heritage Night to kick off the homestand. They're going to be wearing an alternate jersey. You can see it out there as well. Look pretty sharp. So I look forward to seeing what they do. They had those lumberjack jerseys earlier. Now they got the South Asian Heritage. So showing some different looks. And as the month of May nears its end, the C's want you to know about some great promotions coming up in June that are coming to the ballpark. Dog Day, Blue Jays Day, Marvel Superhero Day. For the full game schedule, a promo schedule, and for tickets, you can check out CanadiansBaseball.com. All right, looking around the Calder Cup playoffs, and then there were 4. Texas and Abbotsford in the West, Laval and Charlotte in the East. Now, Texas got past Milwaukee in 5 games. And again, Texas was the lower seed then, as they will be against Abbotsford. So starting on the road, well, they started at home, but didn't have home ice advantage. Went into Milwaukee and knocked off the Admirals in a 5th and deciding game. Laval was the top team in the American Hockey League in the regular season, and the Rocket needed 5 games to eliminate Rochester. So it's Laval and Charlotte in the East. Will Lockwood, former Canuck, he plays for Charlotte, and we mentioned that Cole Lind, prominent in the Texas Stars lineup, so familiar face coming back to take on one of it. I mean, he's on his 3rd NHL organization now, so he's been there and done that a couple of times in terms of facing the Vancouver Canucks or the Abbotsford Canucks, but still, I'm sure that'll be a storyline that rises to the surface here. Cole Lind on the other side in this Western Conference Final. All right, well, Rink Wide's going to continue. We'll get back to our regularly scheduled time slot, nighttime now, after this Memorial Day Monday. And if you're wondering why did they play on a Monday afternoon in Colorado, A, it's a holiday down there. Also, just looking at the arena website over the weekend, there were high school graduations that clearly had been previously booked. And so the building wasn't available for hockey Friday, and then they played here on Monday. But just looking at the schedule for the next round, evening games, including a 6 o'clock start for Game 6 if necessary, but we'll worry about that one once we know how far this series is going to go. But one thing we know for certain, Thursday and Saturday at the Abbotsford Center, and then Rink Wide will be on right after the final buzzer, as we have been throughout the playoffs. A dozen games in, Abbotsford is now 8-4, so it does take 16 wins to win the Calder Cup, like it does the Stanley Cup, just an extra round. So got 2 wins against Tucson, 3 against Coachella Valley, 3 now against Colorado, and they will need 4 against Texas, and if they advance, then they would need 4 in the Calder Cup final. But haven't lost back-to-back here in the playoffs, so they have shown some character, and never more so than rocking the Colorado Eagles 5-0 in a 5th and deciding game at Blue Arena in Loveland, Colorado. All right, when we started this adventure, we kind of thought, let's see if people are into Abbotsford playoff hockey and post-game coverage. Well, the numbers tell us that is the case, and so it's been a blast to this point. Looking forward to firing it up again on Thursday. Jacob Lazar, our technical producer, he was one of the guys that said, yeah, let's give this a shot. Let's see what happens. And sure enough, what's happened is 3 rounds of playoff hockey and into round number 4 for the Abbotsford Canucks. So we've been here every step of the way, and we'll continue after these games in the Western Conference Final. Hey, isn't playoff hockey fun? Yeah, it has been. It's been a lot of fun to watch some of these Canuck prospects do their thing, and some of the veterans as well, who have been sort of leading the charge here. So, yep. All right, I see the Minnesota Frost are your 2025 PWHL champs, and maybe Vancouver will be the champion a year from now as we get our expansion team up and running in the fall. But congratulations to the Minnesota Frost as they win the Professional Women's Hockey League title. All right, Not quite handing out hardware yet in the American Hockey League, but not that far off either. Again, great game from the Abbotsford Canucks. Great support in the YouTube live chat. Thanks to everybody for hanging in there, and let people know that we're doing this after each and every game that the Abbotsford Canucks play. And so that means when they get going again, so will we. We're looking forward to game 1, 7 o'clock on Thursday at the Abbotsford Center. Make sure you're checking out Canucks Army. A ton of coverage there with series previews and everything you need to know. We'll get you caught up on the opposition so that you're a little better served in terms of who the Abbotsford Canucks are facing. And we'll have game day previews as well, along with any information that's coming from the big club as it works its way into the month of June and the draft, and beyond that into free agency. So, Canucks Army. If you're not already checking it out, make sure you're adding that to your favorites. Sekeres and Price, Canucks Convo. They'll have lots of Abbotsford Canucks coverage as well. But that is going to do it for us here this earlier start on a Monday. Your Abbotsford Canucks 5-0 winners. Linus Karlsson with a pair. Phil DiGiuseppe with 2 goals. And Cole McWard with his first of the playoffs. Artur Silovs, 32 saves for his second shutout of this series, his 4th of the postseason. My name is Jeff Patterson. Again, thanks so much for hanging with us here after every Abbotsford Canucks playoff game. For Jacob Lazar, that's going to do it here. 5-0 Abbotsford eliminates the Colorado Eagles. Bring on those Texas Stars on Thursday. That's when we'll talk to you next, right here on Rink Wide.